I'm 78 years old, and I spent my life building a cage. I worked in a nursing home for 30 years. People called me a saint. They were wrong. My life's work was a betrayal, and my biggest regret is wasting those years. Let me tell you what really happened. You see the brochures, compassionate care, professional staff, a community. I believed it too. For 3 decades I was Arthur Finch, a reliable orderly at Golden Sunset Care Center. I took pride in smooth beds and quiet hallways. My neighbors thought I was doing God's work. My son David, living out of state, was proud. I needed the paycheck, so I never looked too close. That was the first mistake. The system doesn't need monsters, just people who need the money and choose not to see. The crisis didn't come all at once. It was a slow creep, 1,000 small neglects. It was holding the hand of a retired teacher, Mr. Henderson, as he begged me not to give him the medicine that blurred his days. The chart said PRN for agitation. The head nurse was watching. I did it anyway. It was watching corporate consultants walk the halls, pointing at low utilization spaces. The next week they tore out the sunroom library, the one place with good light for reading, to squeeze in 2 more billable beds. That place smelled always of industrial cleaner and overcooked peas, a smell I thought was clean, until I knew it was the smell of erasure. Then they moved my wife Eleanor in. After her stroke, it seemed the responsible answer, professional care. I wheeled her down the hallway I knew like my own home. I saw the hollow stairs from the doorways, the ones I'd learned to ignore. But now I saw them reflected in her eyes. She was terrified. I told her it was the best place. I was lying to us both. For 6 weeks I clocked in as a husband and an employee. I watched the machinery I had oiled for 30 years start to grind down the woman I loved. They called her the new resident in 214. Her clothes were taken, labeled, and often lost. She was woken at 5 a.m. for vitals because the shift schedule demanded it. Her favorite shawl was deemed a fall risk and removed. The spark in her, the one that survived the stroke, began to gutter. I found her one afternoon, curled fetal on her bed. A tray of cold food sat untouched beside her. The room was silent, the kind of silence that only exists in places where hope has left. She whispered, her voice thin as paper, "Arthur, get me out of this place. They're making me disappear." That was the moment my 2 worlds shattered and bled into one. My wife was not sundowning. She was not merely a patient. She was heartbroken, and I had brought her here. The frantic argument happened at the med cart. Nurse Tammy, a good woman stuck in the same gears, pointed at Eleanor's chart. "Arthur, it says she's sundowning. You know the protocol. We need to manage her agitation." My own voice broke, a sound I didn't recognize. "She's not sundowning, Tammy. That's my wife. She's heartbroken. The protocol is breaking her." Tammy looked at me with pity and professional resolve. The protocol was the law. We administered the sleepy medicine. I watched Eleanor's eyes go distant, her pleas soften into mumbles, then silence. I had become the hand that administered the blur. She died 8 weeks later, not from the stroke, not directly. She died from the silence, from the loneliness in a crowded hallway, from a heart that had no reason to keep beating, in a place designed for waiting. After her funeral, I sat alone in our empty house. The silence there was different. It was accusing. On the kitchen table, under the glare of a single bulb, lay my old golden sunset name badge. The polished plastic gleamed. I stared at it for hours. That badge was my identity for 30 years. It was my financial security. It paid for this house, for our life. And I finally understood. I had traded my years to build the very cage that took her. The cage wasn't made of bars, but of policies, of efficiency, of PRN medication orders and bed utilization rates. The business model depends on sedated compliance. My life's work was maintaining that. The greatest cruelty in a place like that isn't malice. It's not some evil nurse. It's the thousand small sanctioned neglects. It's the missed conversation because the aid is rushed. The lost photograph labeled as clutter. The untouched birthday cake because she's on a thickened liquid diet now. It's the erasure of a person piece by piece until only a medical chart remains. No amount of fresh paint or bingo games can replace the sacred, exhausting, messy duty of family. The system is designed for operational efficiency, not human connection. And I was complicit because I needed the paycheck. So hear me, especially if you're looking at your aging parents with love and fear, thinking professional care is the easier, responsible answer. I am telling you, from the inside, it is a last resort. Fight with everything you have to keep them at home. Bring the care in. Move in yourself. Find a way. The price of that institutional efficiency is a person's identity. It is their final days, their memories, their dignity. It is watching the light leave their eyes long before their heart stops. Do not make my mistake. Do not trade their last chapters for silence. The only true care is given by someone who loves you. Everything else is just management. Stay with me. You needed to hear this. This is my old name badge. Golden Sunset Care Center. Polished plastic. I kept it spotless for 30 years. I'd clip it on every morning and my neighbors, they'd see the uniform and give me this look like I was a saint. How do you do that work, Arthur? They'd ask. God bless you. And I believed it. I took pride in it. My hall was always quiet. The beds, I could make a bed so smooth you could bounce a quarter on it. I believed the brochures. Compassionate, professional care. That's what we sold. That's what I thought I was doing. But that pride, it was a shell, and it took years for the first crack to show. I remember Mr. Henderson, retired teacher, loved poetry. He had a bad night, see, and the chart said he was agitated. PRN for agitation. That means as needed. The head nurse handed me the syringe. I went in. He was just scared, confused. He grabbed my hand. His own was trembling. He had tears in his eyes. He said, "Arthur, please, not the sleepy medicine. It makes the days all run together. I lose myself." I could feel the weight of the syringe in my other hand. I could feel the head nurse watching me from the doorway. She wasn't a cruel woman. She was just following the protocol. And so was I. I told him it would help. I did it. I watched his eyes go dull before I even left the room. That unsettled me, deep down. But what was I supposed to do? It was the job. I buried that feeling. I buried it under routine. And then the place itself started to change. I remember a Monday, a man in a suit, an efficiency consultant, walked through with the director. They stopped in the sunroom. We had a library there. Not much, some donated paperbacks, a few chairs where the light was good. Mrs. Gable used to read mysteries there every afternoon. The man in the suit called it a low utilization space. He said it like the words tasted bad. Within a month, the books were in a box. The chairs were gone. They put up a partition and rolled in 2 more hospital beds, 2 more billable beds. That was the new word, billable. I told myself it was just business. The world moves on. You keep your head down. You work. So I worked. The years just blurred. Medication pass, meal trays, change the sheets. You get into a rhythm. You learn how to be efficient, detached. My son David, he moved out of state, started his own family. The house got quieter. My whole world narrowed to that hallway, the smell of industrial cleaner and overcooked peas. I became a master of quiet order. I was numb to it. It was just the clock, ticking. Then Eleanor had her stroke. My Eleanor. The world tilted right off its axis. The hospital social worker sacked with me. David was too far away. He had his kids. He couldn't. And home care? I was exhausted just from the hospital vigil. The social worker, she was gentle. She suggested Golden Sunset. She said it was a good place. I knew the people there. I worked there. A part of me screamed, but I was terrified and tired. And I thought, I'm an insider. I can protect her. My presence will make it different for her. It was the most desperate lie I ever told myself. I signed the papers. I betrayed every single fear I'd ever choked back. Today I wheeled her in. That same smell, cleaner and peas. It turned rancid in my throat. Pushing her down the hall I'd walked 1,000 times. It was like seeing it for the first time. The hollow stares from the doorways. I'd always just nodded and kept walking, part of the scenery. But that day, I saw those stares reflected in her eyes, her wide, terrified eyes. She gripped my hand so tight her knuckles were white. The hum of the place, the air conditioner, the call bell system, it wasn't background noise anymore. It was a threat. I promised her it would be okay. I was such a fool. 6 weeks, that's all it took. I came in after my shift and found her, curled up on her side like a child. A lunch tray sat beside her, untouched. This was the woman who planted roses, who argued with me about politics, who laughed so loud it filled the room. Gone. She whispered it. Her voice was thin as tissue paper. Arthur, get me out of this place. They're making me disappear. It was an ice pick, right to the center of me. The system I had served for 30 years was now consuming my wife, and I had let it happen. I had to fight. I started a secret campaign. I'd sneak in extra time, bring her real tea from home, try to jog her memory with photos. But I was just one old man against the tide. The worst was the medication. They had her on a cocktail for agitation and depression. One afternoon, I found Nurse Tammy at the med cart. She was a friend. I pointed at Eleanor's chart. Tammy, she doesn't need that. She's not sundowning. She's heartbroken. That's my wife. Tammy looked at me, her face all pity. She tapped the protocol binder. Arthur, her chart says she's a fall risk. She refuses her meals. This is the standard of care. I have to. My insider status meant nothing. The machinery was indifferent. I watched them give her the pills. She'd look at me, her eyes begging, and I'd just hold her hand, helpless. The woman I loved was fading behind a chemical curtain, and I was paying them to do it. Every day a little more of her vanished. The last time she spoke to me, really spoke, she wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the ceiling tiles. She said, "So quiet here." It wasn't peaceful, it was surrender. She died 3 nights later during the shift change. I was at home, sleeping. That broke me. After the funeral, I sat alone at our kitchen table. I put my name badge there. The plastic gleamed. I finally saw it. It wasn't a symbol of care. It was a key. For 30 years, I'd used it to lock people into that gentle cage. I helped build the prison that stole my Eleanor. I was wrong about everything. The cost wasn't just her. It was my own soul. I traded it for a paycheck, for being called a saint. I just sat there and cried. Every day, a little more of her vanished. That's when I finally understood. It wasn't the stroke that took Eleanor. It was the silence, the quiet I was so proud of maintaining. That's the lesson, the one that cost me my wife and my soul. A nursing home isn't a place of care. It's a factory for waiting. The business model depends on quiet halls and compliant residents. Agitation is a problem to be medicated. Loneliness is a chart note. A person becomes a list of tasks. Bathe, feed, turn. I was a good worker. I followed the protocol. I made the quiet. And in doing so, I helped erase them. Mr. Henderson, begging to keep his days. Mrs. Gable with her mysteries in the sunroom. My Eleanor, whispering that they were making her disappear. I was wrong about everything. I thought professionalism was compassion. It's not. Compassion is messy. It's loud. It argues. It stays up all night. It gets its heart broken. Professionalism just smooths the bed and moves on to the next room. What I should have done, what I beg you to do, is fight the quiet. Fight it with every ounce of your being. Do not believe the brochures. Do not trust the tour. Look at the eyes of the people in the doorways, not the paint on the walls. The system is designed for your guilt and your convenience. It says, you've done all you can. Let the professionals handle it. That's the lie. The most sacred duty isn't professional. It's personal. It's exhausting. It's unfair. And it's the only thing that matters. So here is my direct advice from one old man who failed to another who might not have to. If you're looking at your parents, your spouse, and that creeping thought of a home is entering your mind, stop. Exhaust every other possibility first. Pool family money for in-home care, even if it's just a few hours a day. Move a cot into their living room. Sell the house if you have to. If they must go somewhere, you go with them. Not just visits. Be there for medication passes. Watch how they are spoken to. Taste the food. If they say the medicine makes them foggy, believe them and raise hell. Be the agitator. Be the problem. Because in that place, a problem is a person who is still fighting. Your presence is the only shield they have. Don't worry about being a good relative who doesn't make a fuss. Make the fuss every single day. And for those of you who are my age, staring down that barrel yourselves, have the hard talk now, today, with your kids. Don't just say, don't put me in a home. Make a plan, a real one. Where will you live? Who will check in? What money is set aside? It's not morbid. It's a rebellion. It's you saying, I will not disappear quietly. Because the truth is, community is the only real care. It's neighbors checking in. It's the church group bringing meals. It's the grandkid video calling. It's fragile and imperfect, but it's human. It's how we're meant to live and how we're meant to die. Not in a hallway, but in a room full of your own things, with a hand that holds yours, not because it's their job, but because they love you. I know this sounds hopeless. I'm sitting here in my silent house after all. But the hope isn't for me, it's for you. You still have time. Maybe not years, but now. This moment, hearing this, is enough. You can choose differently. You can be the barrier between someone you love and that quiet erasing machine. That is realistic hope. It's hard, ugly, beautiful work. It's the work I failed to do. If this story has found you, if it's rattled something in your chest, then don't let it end here. That feeling is a purpose. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notifications. I'm not a professional speaker. I'm just an old man with a confession. But there are more stories here like mine. Voices that need to be heard. Give this video a like so the algorithm shows it to another son, another daughter, who is sitting in a hospital cafeteria right now, staring at a brochure. Leave a comment and tell me, what's one memory of your parent or your spouse that you are most afraid of forgetting? Say it out loud. Writing it down fights the quiet. Share this video. Send it to your brother who thinks he's being practical. Send it to your book club. There's a story submission form in the description. If you've seen this from the inside, as a worker or a family member, tell your story. Break the silence. And if you want to understand the systems that do this, there's a book I read too late called Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. It's not an easy read, but it's an honest one. It shows how medicine and institutions fail life's final chapter. My name is Arthur Finch. I'm 78 years old. I spent 30 years building a cage. All I have left is this story and the desperate hope that you will listen. Don't make my mistake. Love is not efficient. It is not quiet. It is loud and present, and it stays. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I'll go sit in the garden. Eleanor's roses have come back this year. They're a bit wild, tangled, not quiet at all.